Hello, it's Griff. And guess where I'm at? Humboldt Redwoods State Park. And guess what? This is Humboldt Redwoods State Park's 100-year anniversary. This is our centennial anniversary, 2021. The park was created in 1921. Isn't that epic? It's epic for so many more reasons than you could possibly fathom, because I'm just starting to, and I work here and I'm in charge of the celebration of the centennial anniversary, and I'm just learning all the crazy things, all the crazy movements that started in this park. So in the coming week, I'm gonna post a calendar here of the events we're planning. We're gonna do stuff. We're celebrating all year long. We're gonna talk to historians. We're gonna talk to all kinds of different conservation biologists like Reed Noss, who wrote the book called The Redwoods. We're going to talk to the Wassermans, who wrote Who Saved the Redwoods. We have all kinds of events planned, and COVID's not going to stop us. And maybe after COVID is done, we're going to have some in-person things too, and a bunch of really cool guided walks led by yours truly and the Interp team here, Shanna Mary and Erica. So we're looking forward to that. But I want to introduce you to someone who's going to come up over and over and over and over again this year, okay? And some of you are probably going, what's that in the background? That is a giant log. You can fit several people in there. Let me just show you guys how beautiful it is here. And this grove has everything to do about the person we're going to talk about, because this grove is named after the person we're about to talk about. And she's a hero of mine, a personal hero. I don't have any tattoos, but if I got one, it would be of Laura Mahan, okay? So Laura Mahan is awesome. I'm not sure where I put this tattoo. Maybe, no, I don't know. I got some time to think about it. But this is Laura Mahan. So she was advocating to save the Redwoods before women could vote, okay? And she was advocating for the Redwoods decades before this was a park, okay? Laura Mahan was awesome. So Laura Mahan is like, she's like one of the original Loraxes. She's like speaking for the trees, okay? She's Julia Butterfly Hill's ideological great-grandma. Julia Butterfly Hills is the woman who spent 2 years in the top of the redwood tree, Luna, to protest clear-cut logging of redwoods. And because of her, Empire Strikes Back was able to feature the redwoods in the movie quite a bit. Laura Mahan, if it wasn't for Laura Mahan, the Ewoks would have no place to live, okay? That's how important Laura Mahan was. I love her. She's awesome. But look at what she's wearing. Doesn't that dress look uncomfortable? I've never even wore a dress before, and I know that dress uncomfortable. Look at all those tight buttons, and it's all up around her neck. She probably had to like lift her head and pull the collar out so she could talk. I'm Laura Mahan. People probably thought her voice really sounded like that, and then she got home and she was like, finally, and she's like, snap, 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 take that thing off, and she's like, whoo, child, and la 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 la, I can finally speak again. Like, man, I can't believe she had to wear that dress. I would have opted for a muumuu or something. But you know, back then, women couldn't show hardly any skin. It was a different world back then. A lot's changed. A lot has changed since Humboldt Redwoods State Parks, was born. A lot has changed. But Laura, we're going to talk about her all year long because she's one of the main heroes of this park and of the redwood preservation movement. So we're going to talk to a lot of people about her during this year. But let me just tell you that she was trying to save the redwoods, 3 decades before Save the Redwood League, like the best conservation group at saving redwoods. She even predated them. And it was in the process with Save the Redwood League to buy this incredible, beautiful, awesome grove right here, okay? And she heard that they were logging, that Pacific Lumber, the people that they were buying this grove from, were logging these big, huge, beautiful, awesome trees. And she was like, oh no, oh heck no. And so her and her husband came down here, and sure enough, PL was building just a little, Pacific Lumber, building just a little strip through here for a railroad. That's not a little strip. That's a huge clear cut, linear clear cut. And so, James, her husband, was like, I'm going to go get a court injunction. And so Laura went out there and they had already started logging, and she stood on top of a stump. So this is a woman before women, like right after women got the right to vote. Okay. And she's wearing this uncomfortable dress and she could barely talk. And she was like, jumped on top of the stump. She's like this. And she's like, I'm Laura Mahan. I need you to stop logging. And the loggers are like, what? And she's like, I'm Laura Mann, I need you guys to stop logging, we're trying to buy this. And they're like, huh? And this went on for like a couple hours until James could go to Eureka and get a judge to do an injunction to stop the logging and save this grove. And this grove is called the Mayhem Plaque Grove. And if you walk down this trail, and this is right on the avenue, like mile marker, I think 23.9. So like you can access this, and it's pretty easy to walk on. So you can bring babies, you can bring grandma, and you can walk on this, and it will take you to a stump that she stood on and talking to everybody. I don't know if she really did that. I just threw that in there because that's how I imagine it. Historians probably like, she didn't do that. But anyways, if you keep going down here, you'll see her plaque, and you'll see the stump that she stood on. So I think that she was probably the first non-Indigenous American to put her body in front of nature in order to save it. See why she's my hero? Do you understand? And she's not the only hero of Humboldt Redwoods State Park. The 100th birthday, the centennial anniversary of this park is more than just celebrating other parks. And I'm sorry, other people who love your parks. I'm not saying, you know, my park is better. I'm saying that this park's 100th year birthday supersedes normal park birthdays because lots of different catalysts for our society's evolution were here, okay? The preservation movement got its big kickoff here, okay? Conservation entered into the political spectrum in a huge way because of advocating for these redwoods. The land trust movement was born here, buying land, private groups buying land and then turning it over to the government to preserve it for everyone and not just a few people or not just for resource extraction. The state park system was created because of this place. You know, it says 1864 on our patch, but that's because there was a couple state parks. The state park system was developed and was born and created by, say, the Redwood League here to buy the Rockefeller Forest, which is the largest old-growth redwood forest in the world. There are so many incredible things that were born out of this park, and so many crazy stories. The beautiful relationship that indigenous people had, several different tribes with this place for thousands of years, and the fact that women were advocating, women's groups like the Women's Federation of California and the Garden Club were, and the Women Save the Redwood League, led by Laura Mahan, they were advocating to save the redwoods before they could vote. And women weren't allowed to speak on any issues that affected economics back then. They weren't trusted with that. Okay, they were only trusted to wear this uncomfortable dress and do a few other things. And so when Women's Federation of Clubs got together, they made their two issues, education and forestry, because women were allowed to talk about gardening. And so they turned that into conservation. So like you could say that women's movements pretty much started the conservation movement, and that wouldn't be far from the truth. It's what happened here. So we're going to be talking about these things this year, and there's so many more cool embedded stories. Like, I keep learning them. It's amazing. And I wish Dave Stockton was still alive. He was one of the founders of Humboldt Redwood Interpretive Association. He died this year. And if anybody could be with us for the centennial anniversary, it would be him. And I just want to keep him in mind as we move forward and tell these stories, that he understood how amazing and wonderful this place was. I understand it. Lots of people understand it. And if you keep watching and pay attention to our calendar, you'll understand it too. Laura Mahan is just one of the awesome things that we're going to celebrate this year. Happy centennial anniversary. Happy birthday, Humboldt Redwoods State Park. Stay tuned, y'all.